The first thing I want to share that I love about Passive House is the integrity. And there's two aspects to this. The first is the integrity of eliminating the performance gap. It is a real sad state of affairs that so many of our buildings just don't live up to the expectations. We design buildings that are meant to perform a certain way and they just fall so far short of that it's just embarrassing most of the time. And if you're an architect or a designer, you've probably had that situation, like I did, where I sat down with a client and had to explain to them that their building was a low energy building, even though their energy bills are much higher than their expectations, and walk away from the meeting feeling somewhat embarrassed and somewhat shamed by the fact that I'd promised a low energy building, I'd designed a low energy building, but it wasn't anywhere near what their expectations were. And of course, if you use the Passive House standard and you design to the Passive House standard, use the methodology, use PHPP, detail it properly, get it certified, then that performance gap can be all but eliminated. So the building has integrity of performance. It delivers what you promise, which is what buildings really should do. That's what people expect buildings should do. So that's the first side of the integrity of Passive House. The second side is that it is a whole standard in itself. It's a holistic standard for the performance of a building, tying together the internal environmental conditions for comfort and for well-being and the energy requirements for that building to do that. It's not a rating system that allows you to pick and choose, allows you to game the system to get a good-looking credit when in reality the building's not much better than its neighbour. It's nothing like that. It has this integrity of being a whole standard. Either you get a Passive House or you don't. You don't get a 60% Passive House or a 75% Passive House. And you can't game it in that way that so many rating systems get gamed, so people pick and choose them. And if you look at a building from a green rating tool and another building from the same green rating tool, you just don't know how one building compares to another. If you look at a Passive House building, you have a very good idea. It performs to the Passive House standard. You know what that means. There's an integrity around the standard. And I wanted to share a project which I think exemplifies this very well. This is by Peter Fink Architects in Germany. And you can see that this is actually a retrofit of an historic building. But it doesn't pretend any kind of it doesn't pretend to be any pastiche of the historic style of the building. It has very clearly defined, very clearly detailed modern elements and the historic elements of the building together. So that's the outside of it. And then a view from the inside of it, we can see there's some new things and some old things, but it has an integrity about it. And this is an INIFIT certified project.